Hey folks, thanks for joining. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes to give people time to trickle in. So hang tight. We're going to get started in just about 1 minute here. Hang tight. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. I'm Ian Alexander, co-founder and channel chief here at Syncro. Everybody knows Andy. No introduction necessary. Thanks for joining for another Ask Us Anything. For those who have never attended one of these, we hang out here. We give you some quick updates on stuff going on in Syncro's world, and then we reserve the rest of the time for any questions you might have about anything. So we got some fun stuff to run through today. I'll kick us off and then I'll pass it over to Andy. First of all, some of you may have heard that we were working on SOC 2 compliance. I'm happy to announce we are now SOC 2 compliant. If you need access to a SOC 2 report, you are welcome to reach out to our team, and they can, there's a little bit of a process to get a SOC 2 report where you have to sign an NDA and whatnot, and then we send it to you. So feel free to reach out to the team, and you are welcome to get one of those.
Ian, are they doing that through support, or is there a special group they're contacting for that?
I will get information about that. I don't know who the exact contact is. I will find out. I believe an email is going to go out about it.
Okay.
So I'll find out and I'll post in the chat at some point. So that is my first announcement. Andy, your turn.
Cool. Well, I'm going to go over some of the new feature releases we did since the last one. Pretty much all of this is coming out of our community-driven development track. Ian, can you enable sharing for me? For those of you that don't know, this is a program that we started a long time ago, recently brought it back. On our Facebook group every month, we will open up a post for 24 hours. Folks will give us their favorite quality of life feature requests. We will pick a couple and we go off and we build them. But now that that's really starting to get going, we've got quite a few releases to talk about today. So I'm just going to start running through them. Some are bigger, some are smaller, but this is going to be everything that we did. First one is we've always had this feature called internal ticket warnings. This is something that you can enable in the admin settings. What this was designed to do was if internally you were opening tickets on behalf of clients and there was something that you needed to let all of your technicians know, like, hey, this customer's late to pay, or hey, only Bob is authorized to do paid work, whatever it is. Every ticket that was opened that was created by a technician, it would pop a banner at the top of the ticket. So you knew like, oh, I shouldn't be doing any work for this client because of XYZ. We have expanded this so it will cover the entire customer's ticket. So it doesn't matter who opens the ticket, how it originates, where it comes from. If you have something in this text box here, it's going to appear at the top of every single ticket. Next is we added an export button to contacts and customers. So now you can export it to a CSV. We've always had the import button, which seems pretty stupid. We didn't have an export button, but now we have both. So I know folks have been asking for that for a while, so we're happy to add that one as well. We've also always had open invoice reminders. A lot of folks don't know this. You can find this in the admin settings. And what this does is it will let you say, hey, after X amount of days or on this particular day of the month, any invoices for any customer that is not paid, go ahead and please send them a friendly reminder. This is what you owe us. This is when you owe us, etc. Again, always been available. But what it wasn't doing was showing a history of when it went out. So on an invoice record, at the bottom, we've got this section for emails. This used to be just when somebody responded to an invoice, and it would show up here to keep track of the communication back and forth. Now it's also going to include any open invoice reminders that go out, so you can see all the history of all communications on the ticket. This is our missing patches by KB report. This basically takes a snapshot of all of your fleet of assets, and it's going to break it down by the count of the missing assets. That's what it ranks it at by default. We've always had this report. Lots of folks use it. The two things that it was missing was it would show the KB number, but we couldn't link over to Microsoft's article on it, and now it will. So if you want to know more about what this specifically does, just click it, opens in a new tab. We also added this. This was a long time request. So this used to be a static label. Now when you click it, it will give you a, in fact, let me just try here. It will give you those specific affected assets. So if you need to do something specific to these, it's outside the confines of that report, you can click it and see the affected assets. In our leads module, another one where I don't know why we've never had it, but we have it now. There's a new lead button. So this used to be basically ingested from tickets coming into like a sales email address that you set up or something like that. Now you can just create one manually if you wanted to. This one might sound a little stupid. It only sounds stupid if you never had this happen to you, but this is the credentials section on customer records, and you can edit the passwords in line. Well, what used to happen was you would click it and then click off of it, accidentally add a space, accidentally delete something, or all of a sudden you wrecked a password and you don't have like the history of the password. So what we did now is we added a save or cancel button. So now if you open this, you can't accidentally delete it. You can't accidentally fat finger or something over top of it. That was actually happening more times than you'd think. So again, if you ever had that happen to you, I'm sure you are doing a jump for joy right now. Okay, so last one I'm going to show is on recurring invoices. We recently added these three tags here for last month, current month, next month. And all that does is it simply translates that tag into the full name of the month that you're in, last month, next month, whatever. I don't exactly understand why, and folks are like, nope, we have to have it for a year. We have to have it for a year. You guys were like relentless about having it for a year, so we added it for year 2. So now these same three will work if you put the year in there. It's just going to say 2022, 2023, 2024, whatever. So now you've got last, current, next for month. You've got last, current, next for year. So now you can structure these line items on your invoices however you want. Should never be a question of what period of time any given recurring invoice going out is for. There's a couple ones that I can't show just because I don't have them set up in my tenant. In the customer portal, we have a section for tickets. Obviously, if you drill into a ticket, you can see all the information, but at a glance, you couldn't see who within an organization opened a ticket. So we added a contact column, and all this stuff, by the way, is live as of yesterday. So now that information is there. In our vulnerable systems report, which is a companion report to our missing patches by KB report, there is an install button. So you can say, okay, I want to install all of the missing patches for this particular endpoint. Sometimes people would report that, hey, this button didn't do anything. And what really happened was the endpoint was offline. So we are adding an online offline indicator, just like you see on the assets page. So you can see if it's online before you attempt to install anything. We actually rolled that out like a week ago, ran into some kind of issue with it. So it was pulled. So they're fixing that, and that should be going back out shortly. And then the last one is on the customer portal. Customers themselves have the ability to enter their own credit card information. And for folks that don't know, in Syncro, we can process credit cards. You can attach them to recurring invoices. So when that recurring invoice fires, we will collect the payment. You will get paid. You don't have to do any of that. It's all automatic. And now customers can update that. And when they update it, they can tell it what recurring invoice to make it apply to. So common scenario would be, you've got your monthly services contract getting billed on a recurring, on a credit card. The credit card expires, customer goes and updates the card, but it didn't update on the recurring invoice. So that invoice would actually fail and there was like a payment due on it. It just created some admin tasks that really didn't need to happen. So now customers can update that and take care of that for you. In terms of winning submissions that just went out, we just announced 2 yesterday. We still have 1 in flight from the last go around. One from the last go around is when you have a customer open a ticket from the agent contact form. That's the icon, the customizable tray icon that you can make for customers in the bottom right of their machine. That will open a ticket in Syncro, and it will notify a tech that it opened the ticket like any other ticket. What it doesn't do is it didn't send a confirmation email to customers. The notion behind that initially was, hey, it says we got your ticket right in the form, so you didn't need it. Folks were saying, hey, my customer would send it, forgot to add something. Now they don't have an email to go back to add it. So we're going to fix that. Next one, and actually I can show you where we're going to add this. I just can't actually show you what it's going to look like. This is one of my favorites that we're going to be adding here. So we've been doing a whole bunch of modifications to ticket views and the UI around this, and a bunch of new criteria around this, new ticket tags, bunch of things. And one of the things that we're going to add here is, sorry, that's not what I wanted. There we go. This is where you set the criteria for what shows up in a view. One of the things you've never been able to do is say, I only care about tickets from the last 30 days. I only care about tickets from the last week. Or I need to go research something from 3 months ago, and I don't need to look through all of the hundreds of tickets I have since then. So we're going to add filters here for date. So you'll be able to set a starting date and an ending date, and you will be able to apply that to when the ticket was created or when the ticket was resolved. So that should add like a huge amount of functionality to your ability to filter down to just the tickets you want in a specific view, especially for folks that have billing admins that specifically use that in their approve and post process. And then the last one, you guys have asked for this for years, so I'm finally happy that no one's going to have to ask for this anymore. One thing that we missed when we built policy inheritance, you'll go to delete a policy that you think you don't need anymore, and it would say, oh, no, you can't do it because this policy is in use, and you have no idea where it's in use. So we are making a report where you can put in and filter by policy, and it will show every endpoint that has this policy part of its effective policy. So even if you have 10 asset policies in this inheritance model, all flowing down to what we call the effective policy, as long as it's a part of that effective policy, that endpoint would show up in that report. So now it should be super easy to see, hey, this policy is assigned to these 3 endpoints. I'm trying to delete it, go remove it, and now you're free to delete it. So that's everything coming out of that community-driven development track. The next open submissions post we haven't announced yet. I suspect it's going to be sometime in the middle of October, but we'll give everybody plenty of notice for that. Back to you, Ian.
Okay, so I'm going to do this on the fly. I didn't plan this, but I realized that we haven't shown this. So some of you folks may be using the Azure AD integration. We have made some improvements there that I just want to show real quick. So when we first released the Azure AD integration, and I'll share my screen in a second, one of the things that it does is it syncs contacts from it syncs Azure AD users to Syncro as contacts. However, we heard from folks that, hey, I support this university, but I only support this particular department at this university. They have 40,000 Azure AD users, and I only want to import 200 of them. So what we didn't have was like departments allow and ignore lists. And we also didn't have the ability to toggle on and off guest users because there's full members and then there's guest users. So what we have now, and I'll share my screen. Now, when you go do this, we have both department ignore lists that are comma separated. So if you don't type anything in here, it'll just bring in everything, right? It won't ignore any. And so, but if I want to, I could say like the Department of Engineering, and then I could type another one that's like Department of Business. So I could ignore. In addition to that, I can include. So I could alternatively say, I only want to include the Department of Engineering. Or if I wanted to include if I wanted to like just only ignore one, right? So these are additive, so you can use both if you want.
Is this live now? This is cool.
This is live.
I haven't seen this. Okay, cool.
Yeah, this is in production.
That's great.
In addition to that, right now, if you toggle this on, it will include guest users, but the default is off, so it ignores guest users. So you can choose that per Azure AD tenant or Syncro customer, however you want to think about that. But yeah, that's now live in production. You can use that if you want to only pull in certain folks.
Very cool.
Okay. Next, we already have some questions about this, so I'm excited to talk about it. You have been hearing for a while, we're working on single sign-on as well as IP allow list. Those are on track and making great progress. You should have gotten an email recently about, I believe, the single sign-on stuff. But we're taking volunteers for early access for those. They're going to be ready to test soon. Just to clarify what those are, right now you can do an IP allow list, but it doesn't apply to global admins in your Syncro account. We are creating a new system for that will apply to everybody. And so taking volunteers for early access there, and then for single sign-on, that's going to be enable you to sign on via Office 365, that kind of thing, into your Syncro account. Again, taking early access there. I'm going to post a Google form in the chat here. If you are interested in early access, please fill that out and our product team will get back to you. But really excited about those and excited to have folks try them. Some of you may have heard about the WebP vulnerability recently. Just wanted to ease any concern there. We've released patches for everything in our infrastructure for that, so we're not vulnerable to that at all, as far as Syncro's infrastructure goes. Okay. Let's see. The last thing I wanted to share is resources. We have a new webinar that is available on demand called Mastering MSP M&A. So and I'll put a link in the chat there. If you're interested in acquiring another MSP or understanding how that process works, recently Katie, our VP of Marketing, brought on Ken Ralston, who is an expert in the MSP M&A world, to talk about that. So you're welcome to check out that webinar whenever it's convenient for you. Okay, Andy, anything on your end before we jump into Q&A?
No, just a shout out to everybody. We just went to attended TechCon Unplugged, and I know I met a whole slew of you there. So I just want to say how much I enjoyed meeting everybody, talking to everybody, and we're hoping to do a lot more of those types of events in 2024. So I would love to see more of you in person. I know a lot of your names. I never met you, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
right,
for sure.
So.
Got one here from Jordan. Are there any plans to enable ACH payments through Stripe from within Syncro? So if you recall, at the end of last year, we did release an early pilot of ACH, or we were working on releasing an early pilot of ACH for Stripe. We're taking a new tact now. We we are currently looking into a payment provider that would, what's the best way to explain this? I think it would basically replace our existing Stripe integration with another Stripe integration that would have ACH. So rather than adding to the existing one, we'd be replacing the existing one, as well as giving you other options for payment processors. So we are currently vetting that solution. It's a little too early to be like, yes, we're doing that. We are vetting that. We are looking into it. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Ian.
No, you go.
Jordan's asking, are there any plans to have a UI UX redesign, client-facing portal and internal portal? Isn't that pleasing to the eye? It seems a little outdated. I think if you looked at the ticket section that I was just showing, we are making incremental improvements across the platform. I don't think there's going to be a day where you wake up and you're like, oh my God, it's completely different kind of thing. But we will continue making incremental improvements as we go along. I think that'll be more of a slower ongoing thing than a huge, you look tomorrow and the entire platform looks brand new kind of thing.
Yeah, we're not going to ship like Syncro UI 2.0. We're going to ship Syncro UI 1.0.1, 1.0.2, and you're going to see lots of incremental things. I do agree that the customer portal is in need of some love in like that particular section, and I think the team knows about that. We are constantly, like Andy said, making UI UX improvements in lots of places.
Douglas is asking, is the ticket tags just for labor items or any item on the recurring invoices? I also want to clarify, now that we actually have tags for tickets, tags now has kind of taken on an extra meaning, but I think you're talking about, in the invoicing context with the month and the year. It doesn't have to be for labor, it can be whatever you want. I just put labor in there because that's normally what I would bill out as my managed services. Like the core part of the contract would always get billed against labor. But yeah, it'll work for any line item you want, so shouldn't make a difference.
Brett is asking if we have a hard date for global admin restrictions and an update on a single sign-on. Hopefully I've answered that question now. We should be going to early access quite soon.
I ask that question every single day too, so I'm right there with you, man. I want that just as good as you. Richard's asking if, I think you were talking about the taking credit card payments and recurring invoicing so you don't have to deal with any of that yourself. Does it work with PayPal? Also, it doesn't. So it would just work with WorldPay today, which would handle your credit card processing and ACH processing. And then with what Ian's talking about, whenever that may come to fruition, there's no, just in basic investigation phases. That would also be part of this. So any new payment processors would be able to run through that specifically.
Whatever, personal opinion. I don't love PayPal.
Yeah. Do you know the CJIS compliance? I'm not actually.
I think it's related to government compliance. I'm not super familiar with it. And I'm probably not the right person to ask this question to anyway. That would be Kristen. I can find out about it. To be honest, I think this is the first time anybody's ever brought it up that I can remember. So it's probably not at the top of our list in terms of compliance to add, but we're always improving, always looking to add more. So
okay, Sam says, hey, I'm new to, oh, hey, Sam. I recognize you from the Facebook group. New to Syncro, forgive me if it's already a feature I haven't found it yet. Can you restrict a technician access per customer or site? If not, it is on the roadmap. You cannot today. In terms of being on the roadmap, Ian, do you have?
I don't.
Okay, so it's.
I don't know.
Every
We've
time
talked about a lot of different versions of RBAC.
Yeah.
There is, Sam, the ability to restrict someone to only one customer. But if you want to give them access, and that's usually the use case there is usually for co-managed IT. But if you want to give them access to only 3 or 2 customers or all but one, we don't currently have that. I have heard the product team talk about it recently, but I don't think it's on the roadmap currently.
Yeah, it comes up enough where we'll say it's on our radar. I think that's a fair way to put it. But yeah, I understand what you're after.
It's more complex than you'd think to implement, actually. Like the UI is quite simple, but the stuff that happens in the back end is a little more complicated.
We have an anonymous user saying, any chance you can change the color of the ticket screen and others? It just sounds like you like the blue color better. So it's kind of funny. I was actually just having a conversation with Ian about this the other day. So basically, I'll answer it like this. No, you can't do that today. Theoretically, if I change the color to blue, I'm going to have a bunch of pissed off people saying, hey, I would want it this color, or why did you change it? I liked what it was before. So then it comes down to, will we ever build like a completely customizable, brand, all that kind of stuff. And the answer right now is probably no. I do think as we make changes to the UI, and like Ian was talking about, incremental changes, that you will see some updates to certain things. I don't know if you'll see physical like brand color changes, but I think you will see readability changes and things like that across the platform for sure.
You can, for what it's worth, install browser plugins that overwrite the CSS and change the color. It will only apply to your web browser, but you can do it. I mean,
I think it's like Tamper Monkey.
It's been done, actually, yeah. I think.
Yeah, he'll probably get mad at me, but go on our Facebook group and ping Isaac Good. He's like the master of scripts, and I know for a fact he does this because he's always helping people with it. So,
he has what? He has like a Grease Monkey script or something?
Is it Grease Monkey or Tamper Monkey? One of those two.
Well, they're both things.
Yeah, okay. It's one of those. he'll be able to help you because he's got that down.
One here from Richard: is the single sign-on text only or also user portal? It's only for your employees. So
right.
text only.
Yep. Okay. Murray's saying, any new updates coming to the current executive reporting so we can use it to be more informative to our business clients, more endpoint user-friendly visually to show them in appointments. Thank you from New Zealand. Well, that's cool that you're from New Zealand. I don't know too many people from there. Can you ask another question and just kind of delineate specifically what you're looking for? So those exec summary reports, they're fully customizable. There's like 40 different blocks that you can add to it, and within each block it's customizable. So if you have like a specific need, like I want to show X to my customer for Y reason and I can't, let me know what that is and we can talk about it. I just don't know specifically what you're after here. Tom's asking, any plans for a report builder? I'd like to know how many tickets or how much money I generated for a certain ticket type. So I don't think that's in the Power BI stuff, Ian.
It is. I can show it.
The profitability by ticket type?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Let me see if I can pull up one of them.
I'm going to grab another question while you're pulling that up. Eric's asking, I really want to make it easier to manage Chocolatey and Syncro. I still can't get it working consistently. I would like to more easily push out packages with scripts. Eric, what I'd probably say is contact our support department. Like, it is designed to be managed easily, and not having to do it through scripts is what makes it easy to manage. It should just be within your policy. You can make third-party patch policies. Those are sub-policies that can get rolled into any policy you want. And it should just dictate, this is all the stuff that's going to install. I think it goes on like a 6-hour cycle to update things. So I don't know exactly what consistency issues that you're having, but reach out to support if you haven't already, because there's not too many issues that we generally have with Chocolatey in our patching process.
Okay, so here's the Power BI page. There's this customer efficiency page. You can see here business name and then build amount and then how long you spent and then the number of tickets and dollars per ticket. You can filter it by the ticket type or the problem type over whatever time frame you want.
Oh, cool. Okay. So
Tom, you could say like, oh, I want to know how many people did this. I don't know. Let's do problem type instead. Like, I don't know, on-site support or something. And you could easily check that out, or project work. Or if you want to filter out everything other than project work, for example, you could do that.
Yeah, so Tom, let me know. I think that sounds like that's what you're looking for. That's a new feature of the team plan, and those are basically the Power BI templates. So you don't have to build that yourself. It's just native to what we built for you.
Yeah, and we can make modifications to those pages pretty easily. So if that's not if that's close to what you want, but not exactly, we can ship changes to that pretty easily.
Jody's asking about a graceful solution for user access logging, like login, log out tracking on a machine or event activity logging. I'm trying to understand the use case. So, I mean, are you just asking like outside of a managed environment, just like a one-off machine trying to find out? Because normally you should be able to pull that stuff from your, Active Directory or whatever. If you're trying to say you want it like within Syncro for some reason, yeah, not natively. The only thing I could think is you could theoretically pull it from like the event viewer, and I suppose you could just script it and have it put in the script output, the last 7 days or 30 days or however you want to customize that. But no, there's not a way to do it natively, and I don't know of anything that we're looking at internally to add that currently.
Question here from John about any update on UK payment providers. So the solution that I mentioned earlier that we're looking into to replace Stripe would also enable us to easily simultaneously launch other payment providers, many of which are applicable to UK, Australia, New Zealand, etc. So things like Go Cardless. Well, Stripe is applicable, but and many others. So yes, if we are able to replace the Stripe one, that will mean we are also able to launch UK payment providers.
Ian, is there anything, any other questions in the from the live stream stuff?
Yeah, question. Hi team, ETA on global variables. Any improvements to offline alerts? Every month we get hundreds of false alerts when your background services are having issues. Global variables in scripts, I'm assuming.
Sorry, I was reading another question. Ask that one more time.
He says, is there an ETA on global variables?
Oh, yeah. So that came back as a really big size. So it fell out of the community-driven development track. We're still looking at it for like a larger development initiative. But yeah, he's talking about for scripting. So I don't have an ETA on that. I know it's something we'd like to do, and we were hoping it would fit in this program. It just didn't. It wound up being too big.
Couldn't you basically already do that by having like using platform variables and just assigning the same value?
Effectively, yeah, but you'd have to do it to every single customer. Like it would only pull it from that. So it'd be like if I have this one key that I need to use throughout a bunch, and then
Right.
Just changing it once. So there's not a way to do that.
Right. It's not as clean, but
Yeah.
you could, yeah.
I've got one from Richard. How about accepting crypto? I can officially say I don't think we're ever going to accept crypto, but now I have to know, just because I'm curious, do you really have customers that are coming to you and asking like, can I pay you in crypto? I've been asked this a couple times in the past couple weeks. So like I want to know. He says yes. So are they not willing to pay by credit card, or like I'm kind of curious like what the interest is, and it's just for my own curiosity because we don't get asked often, but it has come up. I'm gonna wait for him to answer. I'll take another one. After SSO is live, can the feature be added to the user portal as well, which we can then tie into clients' Active Directories? I don't know. Is there any plans to do it like SSO in the portal, Ian? It would probably be.
I don't know. I'd have to ask Bobby.
Okay. I don't think it's on the roadmap now, but that's starting to come up. And I'm sure everyone's always just been SSO for my tax. And once we have that, I'm sure that's where it'll fall to next. Richard says many sites have started to accept. Yeah, I understand that some places are accepting it, Richard. I'm trying to understand the reason behind it. Like, why would you want to take that versus just taking a credit card or taking ACH, which is usually like a 50-cent fee or whatever.
I mean, I think the fundamental issue is that it's an accounting nightmare.
Oh, that's probably true too.
It's just like not. Yeah.
Okay. Jeremy's asking, is there an option to have Syncro bill in local funds, example Canadian rather than USD?
Not in the short term.
Is that something we're looking at longer term, Ian?
We've looked at the ability to do it. It's a pretty significant It's a pretty small product change, like in terms of like letting you pick a currency and accepting that in our billing system. It's a pretty large back-end accounting change. So it would be a pretty big thing our team would have to manage, which is why we haven't done it. Yet, but we are definitely open to it. I don't think it's going to happen in the short term, just knowing the other things we're working on.
I'm just going to call out, I think this is the first time where we won't actually go over time with a bunch of questions we couldn't get to. So we'll open it up. There's a couple of questions left and we'll get to them. If folks want to ask like business questions, MSP general questions, doesn't necessarily have to be about Syncro as a whole. Feel free to fire those off too. If we have time, we'll take them. Murray's asking, Murray, I'm going to probably ask you a follow-up here because I don't exactly understand what you're asking, but you're saying when you're doing appointments, you're having issues showing the alerts. Why does the alert provider not show on the alerts created or the alerts cleared? Do you understand what he's asking there, Ian?
Sorry, I was reading one of the YouTube comments.
Oh, it's okay. It's the middle question there in the Q&A for Zoom.
I'm not sure I understand the
Murray,
context.
if you want to ask another question and just kind of add some additional context, or if it's just something that should be working and it's like broken, I would reach out to support so they can confirm that for you.
Yeah, or just like explain more what's happening.
Yeah. Craig's asking, is there a way to mark a customer as inactive and also a contact as inactive? There is. It's done with custom fields. And actually, I can show you what
I would do it with the icon.
Well, yeah, one of the reasons you would want to do it a different way, I'll show you here quick. When you're billing out recurring services, especially if you're billing by contact, which a lot of people do, they'll either bill by endpoint or by contact. Let's see, bill by employee. You actually have the ability to pull in. So we're going to do a customer contact counter. You can do custom field types. So we actually built that like employee status. It's active, inactive. So you can go and you can just be like, okay, that you want to track, like not lose their ticket history and stuff from an employee that was termed or whatever. But you can just mark them as inactive. So then they're not going to get billed or counted as part of this. And you can also do the same thing per customer. So if you want to add flags to a customer for inactive, active, and filter them out, you can certainly do that.
Got a question here from Sherry. Hopefully that's how you pronounce your name. I'm completely new to Syncro and I'm working as an operations manager for an IT company. I was wondering if there's an updated training video. So Andy, what would you recommend for someone who wants to get up to speed on Syncro, understand the platform? Like what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I think it's still a work in progress, but the Syncro Academy is like 90% done. And I think I would send them there. Let me see if I can get a link for that for you.
Cool. She's also wondering if there is a way to bulk merge tickets.
No, so that was actually a winning submission in a community-driven development track, and it wound up being very large for multiple reasons, even though it seems like it wouldn't be. So I totally get it. You have like 15 people in an office all open up the same ticket. You want to merge them. We just don't have that currently. So that's another one that is something we want to do, just not part of that track. So yeah, we're gonna be looking into that one. I'm gonna post a link here to the Syncro Academy. I don't know if a lot of folks know we have this, but it's designed for exactly what you're talking about. Like, hey, I brought in a new tech. What specifically should they be going through? So I just threw it in the chat there.
We have a couple questions on Chocolatey, so I just want to related to Chocolatey. So let me start with Manny's. Manny says, what would be the easiest way to set up new computers with basic software such as Chrome, Dropbox, Adobe Acrobat, Firefox, etc.? Right now I use Ninite, but I would like to incorporate it into the Syncro agent. So in Syncro, there's a policy for third-party application patch management. It uses Chocolatey in the back end to install those patches. So those are all very, very common things. You can just check a box for them or add the Chocolatey repo. So you can do it with the Syncro third-party application patch management policies, which Andy is showing now. And so you would just search for an app and choose the one you want, and then click add application. And once you do that, you can do either do not install or install and update, and it will And then if you apply this policy to an endpoint or an asset, it will do that for you. So that's how you would do that and replace the stuff you're doing with 9 nights. In regards to Richard's question, he says, I agree with Eric on Chocolatey. If you add any custom Chocolatey patches, the only choices are do not install or install an update, which Andy just showed for the custom ones. There isn't update if present option. Some third-party patches we don't want to install on all devices, but to only update if present. So I can explain why those radio buttons aren't there. The other two radio buttons are not there for the custom ones. Essentially, for every application that we put in the default list, we had to do some pattern matching, because Chocolatey, when you install an application with it, it's kind of doing its own installation, which is separate. It can't see what's already on the machine, essentially. So if you just tell Chocolatey to install or update something, unless Chocolatey installed it, it doesn't know it exists. So basically what we had to do was add some stuff on top of Chocolatey to do some pattern matching to see if, say, Chrome, which is one of the things in default, if Chrome's already there, then add this radio button. So when you do the custom ones, we don't have our own pattern matching for that. And that's the issue. If you're seeing something that you think should be in that list that's incredibly common, we could probably add it. It would be a, probably community-driven development track type of addition. But unless it's in the default list, we probably aren't going to be able to add those two other radio buttons.
I'm finding out Douglas's question about the Academy if you want to pick up another one.
Eddie says, are there plans to update Tech Suite? No, there are no plans to update Tech Suite. Tech Suite is very much in maintenance mode. It is stable. It works in terms of an engine. We maintain the infrastructure, but we haven't updated it in a while, and we don't really plan to. We've been pretty transparent about that with folks. So if you want to keep using it, you're super welcome to, but we're not gonna ship a bunch of new stuff for it.
Ian's asking, I've struggled to figure out a clean way to set up auto remediation. This sounds a little confusing, Ian, so I'm going to try to get it right. If I'm wrong, let me know. So that from alerts, then you run a script. The script opens a ticket, runs another automated remediation, and then the script, sorry, this is hard. If the script resolves the issue, then the ticket gets some time and is closed. But if it fails to resolve the issue, and the ticket stays open. That's a lot. I think if you're getting tripped up on the last part, if I understand correctly, you're saying that the script fails to resolve and then it's not closing the ticket. That would actually be expected behavior. I mean, depending on where it fails, if it's not finishing the script is what's closing the ticket. If I'm misunderstanding that, let me know.
I would do that slightly differently. So you get an alert. You in automated remediations, you run a script. That script should have some logic in it. That's an if else statement. Basically, it tries to fix the issue. If it does fix the issue, then it opens a ticket and closes it. If it doesn't fix the issue, then it opens it and doesn't do anything. So instead of creating the ticket in the first script, just do the whole thing in one script and create the ticket or not, or create the ticket and close it or not if it was able to resolve it. So you're basically not going back to automated remediation. You're just doing it in the script.
And you could also skip it, I think, skip that phase. So like a common scenario is you have a low hard drive space alert, runs a script to try and do your general cleanup. If it works, great. You don't have to do anything, actually. You can just close the alert. If it doesn't work, then you can actually fire a custom alert that gets picked up in automated remediation. Then from there, you can do whatever you want, including opening a ticket. But that's a way to like filter out the noise. And anything that's a ticket is legit stuff that you couldn't automate.
I'm guessing Ian just wants a ticket to log that it found something.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense, actually. Yep.
Yeah.
How about support for WinGet? Any plans to better integrate it? I think WinGet is cool, but I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Ian. I don't think so.
Not currently. I heard they're making some dramatic improvements to it though. It may make sense to start looking into that. I'll bring that up with the product team. I'd much rather use Winget than Chocolatey.
Okay, Douglas is asking, is the Academy the same sign-on as our dashboard? Found out an answer for you, Douglas. It is not. So you would create a new one. Also, for any new folks, I know there's a couple of new folks on this call. The director of partner success said send them to this link and you would qualify for an implementation webinar, which would be massively helpful. That's for the admins on your account. Any integrations plans for QuoteWorks? I would probably say never on integrations. Ian's the integration guy, so I guess we can just send that one to you.
I talked to them a year ago. QuoteWorks is the one it's like on desktop, right?
Yeah, and it looks super old, but it's crazy powerful.
Yeah. Thought they made an integration.
Yeah, Quoter does.
No, but I know Quoter does. I thought oh, you know what it was? They sent me to a whatever. We don't need to get into detail. Someone was going to build an integration, but they wanted to charge for it. And
okay.
They wanted some pilot users who were willing to say they'd pay for it. I don't think we can build an integration for QuoteWorks because it's like a Windows application. I think QuoteWorks has to build it. Anyway.
Ian's saying right now recurring tickets require a tech to be assigned. Can that be removed and set to optional? Ian, I think that is a great suggestion. What I'd recommend is when we do the next open submissions on our community-driven development track, this is the perfect type of thing that would go there. Definitely suggest that one because I think that's a great suggestion. So yeah, I think we could probably get it through that track specifically.
Let me check. YouTube.
Murray's asking for the executive reports. Can these be made more user-friendly graphics-wise, but also some important information per block? Explain alerts, how many over a period. So Murray, same answer from before. Can you, could you delineate specifically what you're looking for that it doesn't do today? Like for instance, you can pick alert types and say, show me how many they had in the last month. Like by design, the executive summary report is designed to be like a summary. It's not really meant to be like this massive report, but there is like blocks for custom text if you feel you have to explain something in more detail. But like I said, if you're looking for a specific metric that it doesn't show and you want to show it, let me know what that is. Or emails Andy@syncromsp.com. So if it's easier, just shoot me an email with some specific ideas that you have and we can discuss that offline.
Got a question here. Not sure if this was they want to know about the yes, we covered that earlier about the IP allow list for global admins. That's on track, and we posted a link to early access if you are interested in checking out IP allow list or single sign-on, which are both on track and are going to be in early access soon. Question here, improvements for false offline alerts. So at this point, as far as I understand, and there's folks on the engineering team who would know better than me, most of the false offline alerts are are related to if we ever have like an outage or scheduled maintenance. I think that's why they're very intermittent. And so it's not actually like the offline alerts, I think that's the issue, so much as accounting for if our servers are momentarily down or something. Our uptime has gotten tremendously better in the last year and a half over time, so those should be happening a lot less. if you are getting a false offline alert, you may want to link to it and send that to support. They can verify that it might have been related to something like an outage on our end. We are talking about like, hey, that shouldn't trigger a false offline alert if that happens. So we're getting more definition around that. But you're welcome to submit a ticket and we can look into it specifically.
And he's asking, I got set up with oh yeah, I set you up with Acronis yesterday. Thanks for doing that. Do you know when billing will be integrated? I don't have an ETA. It is definitely on the list of things we'd like to do. And basically, Eddie's asking, when can we get to grabbing usage from over here and then bringing it in and automatically billing that out? But it's definitely on the radar, Eddie. If I had a better timeline for you, I'd let you know. We're getting, just a heads up, we got about 10 minutes left. We're getting low on questions again. Didn't get any business questions, so no takers on that. So how about if anybody wants to start throwing out their favorite little quality of life feature request, I'll be happy to discuss them with you here in the last 10 minutes we got. Anything else on the on your end, Ian?
I don't think so. No. Oh, I'll get an answer to the earlier question about single sign-on.
Okay. Richard's saying HIPAA compliance, a better how-to. Richard, I don't know what you're asking. If you're asking if we're HIPAA compliant, we are. But that may not be what you're asking. If you want to elaborate on that. There's a HIPAA, like a HIPAA app card, and that will shift your Syncro account. It'll make some changes so that it is HIPAA compliant. All right, we're gonna leave it open for another minute. If we got no takers, we're gonna end a little early here.
Somebody wants the Syncro Academy link. I will paste that in the.
I put it in the chat already.
Yeah, it's just somebody on YouTube.
Oh, got it. Is there any place for script training? Not directly. I guess a couple of places you could go. One, we have a community library for scripts, so you can go find things that are interesting for you. And a lot of times it's easy to take out elements of that, slam stuff together to make something useful. If you're just getting started, our community forum or even our Facebook group, there is people that are just willing to help anybody there. So if you got some specific script questions, they will absolutely help you out there as well. The other thing that you can take a look at is if you want just to grab some super complex scripts that are super cool, CyberDrain's a good place to look. They have some pretty badass PowerShell scripts in general.
There's really cheap, if you're just trying to learn how to do more PowerShell scripting stuff, there's really cheap courses on Udemy. For example, I'll put a link there. Not affiliated with us, but I've done courses on Udemy. They're like $20 or whatever. You can learn how to use Power BI or whatever you want.
Scott wants to know if we know the airspeed of the African swallow. Ian, do you have ChatGPT up? I think that's where I'd go for that.
Oh, I don't know. Probably would lie to us.
But thank you for that. That's what we need.
I feel like that's like a common trivia thing.
Is it? Well, I don't.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that before. I don't know where.
Manny's
a movie or something.
Now I have to look it up because that's going to bug me. Manny's asking, what does the interval mean in the third-party install? Basically,
yeah, from Monty Python.
Okay, I totally messed that too.
Emily's like mad at me for not knowing that.
Emily is?
Yeah, she just commented.
Oh god, that's fine. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Well, we're dum-dums, I guess. All right. He's asking what the interval means in the third-party installs, and basically it's just saying you want to do it like every other Tuesday or every third Friday. A lot of people have very specific requirements of when they can reboot machines, especially if it's like at a huge office environment. They have to do it like in groups where it's like you guys are the first Friday, you guys are the second Friday kind of thing. That's what it's for.
We have a question here from anonymous attendee. We host a lot of remote desktop servers for customers. A user access logging capability would be huge for us. I'm curious if you could elaborate and say how you would use those logs and how you'd want to be able to access them. Like, what's a scenario where you would need to look at the logs and what would you be trying to accomplish? Other than just like having them for audit purposes, but like if you were actually getting audited or you wanted to do an investigation, what would you need to be able to see?
Emily wants to know what your favorite color is, Ian. Emily, I think I'm going to ask that you come up with some better questions, because that's not an awesome one. But what's your
Emily's
favorite
our
color?
CEO, by the way.
Oh, apparently it's a Monty Python reference, so now I got to feel dumb twice in a row. So thank you for that, Emily.
I need to watch some Monty Python. I haven't.
Yeah,
It's
same
been
for
a
me, I
long time.
guess, apparently. Is there a way to see when a contact was last logged into the customer portal? Jordan, that's an interesting question. There's not, but can you ask a follow-up? I'm curious what you're thinking there. Like what would you want to know? Just if they're using it in general, or like you sent them an invoice and you want to know if they're, going in there to look at it or something like that?
Okay, so the anonymous attendee elaborated. They want to know who logged into the system and when. That makes sense. Yeah, okay, makes sense.
Douglas is saying, how about multipliers in recurring invoices for like quarterly item times 3? Well,
Would that be a divider then?
well, wouldn't that just be a unit though? Wouldn't you say like your monthly price is X times 3 if you're, and then just bill it out in a quarterly cadence? Or let me know if I'm not understanding what you're asking there.
What, so that, wait, how would you, so you have a quarterly price and then you make the quantity like 0.33?
No, you'd make the quantity 3. So you just put your monthly price in there and then multiply it by 3. So like if you pay managed services, if your managed services contract with them is $5,000 a month, and they want to pay quarterly, like it's
Oh, your recurring invoice would be running quarterly is what?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you would just put a unit at 3. But Doug, let me know if that's not exactly what you meant.
Yeah, that's interesting. Most of our recurring invoice stuff assumes people are billing monthly. Because most people do.
Yeah, but I mean, it does. I don't know why it's on there. I didn't even know this is a word, but you can bill like triannually or whatever if you want to. There's like all sorts of options in there. I don't know who put that in there. I didn't think that was a real word.
It's probably Troy.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, so he's saying billing every quarter. So like AV line item per, yeah. If you want to take another question, Ian, I'll pull this up and show how to do that.
On contracts, it would be nice for the price adjustments to have an optional quantity. For example, say your contract includes 20 licenses of Microsoft 365, so they can price to $0, but oh, yes, understood. I personally think that should be in recurring invoices, in the automatic line item calculation as opposed to in contracts. But I understand the use case you're trying to solve, and that makes sense.
Okay, Doug, so basically in your recurring invoices, if you're not doing a counter or something, you would just do a standard line item. And then here you would just say, oh, maybe that's what you're saying. If it's this, you could just say it's a quantity of 3 and bill quarterly. But now that we're talking, I kind of have a sneaking suspicion you're talking about using a counter, but you'd want to bill that over 3 months, but then your counter might be wrong. So
Oof.
let me know if this is what if this does it for you, or if you're going down a different road.
Wouldn't you just want to change the price?
Well, if you're billing quarterly, it would just be 3 units, right?
Yeah, I guess, but if you're using if you're using the automatic counters, you don't get to change the quantity.
Right, but yeah, but I don't know, like if you are using the counter, my fear would be that, I mean, that if you're just fine like snapshotting on the first day of the quarter, and then even if they go up or down after that, you don't bill them anything extra, that would work. And I guess, yeah, you'd bill them triple basically.
Right, you would change the price in the products and services section to be 3 times whatever you would make it monthly.
Right. In fact, I think when you put in your, like when you put the item in, it would pull up your price, and I think you could just change it right in the recurring invoice. I don't think you'd actually have to change the product price necessarily.
That's true. You could also put a contract on there to override the price.
Okay, but yeah, in either case, Doug, there's more than one way to do it. Are you saying being able to use an asset counter is helpful, but to be able to do a 3x multiplier. Yeah, so you should be able to do that now with the units or just tripling the price, whichever. All right, now we have more questions that we're going to answer. That's kind of weird how that went. Did you answer the one by Ian with the contracts? It'd be nice for price adjustments to have an optional quantity.
Oh yeah. That's where, like, we were talking about that for backup, where, oh, it's a certain number of licenses included, and then over that you bill for it.
Got it, like a billable threshold.
Yeah,
Yes.
it applies to things other than backup, but that's the context we were talking about it for.
Got it.
We were talking about fixing that or enabling that in recurring invoices. They were saying contracts, but I mean, either one would do it.
Yeah, I'm hot to get that one too, and it'd be for a lot of reasons. Like a lot of times you might say, hey, I'm covering you up to this amount of backups as part of your managed services. Anything over that, you bill X. And that is a pain in the ass if you bill that way and you don't have a way to functionally do it. So yeah, I like that idea a lot. Let's see.
Murray says we have a company that has 3 branches, 3 different primary IT contacts. So the contact person is not the business owner, but 3 different people. So in the information section, an IT primary contact nomination would be awesome.
I don't know.
You know what this made me think, Andy? You know how we have like billing contact and we have,
Yep.
it'd be kind of interesting if there was a custom field type where the like answer or the value is a contact.
For
So
what?
like in this case, they want to have like primary IT contact. So like they could have a custom field that's primary IT contact, and they could select one of the contacts.
Oh, okay. So if I understand correctly, then Murray, this is more for when you're opening a ticket on their behalf. It's like, who should I assign this to? Because it's the primary contact. I actually think that's an interesting idea.
Are those 3 different branches? How do you have those 3 branches set up? Are they each one a customer in Syncro, or are they all one customer and then you have locations, or like how are you differentiating between the branches?
Yeah, and I'm going to show you something really quick this may not be exactly what you're asking for, but this may help for what you're talking about. So if you go in contacts, and this is actually a little known feature, we have this thing called direct report. And what this will do is, I only have one person in here now, but this will show all of the contacts belonging to this specific customer. And anything that this contact opens will automatically CC this direct report. So like if you're saying there's like somebody who oversees like Department A, Department B, Department C, you could grab all the employees of Department A, fill their direct report out to be whoever's going to monitor that, and then everything would flow up. So anybody could open a ticket, but X individual would always know that their department has a ticket open, and they would be on those communications. Let me know if that would help, or if you still want to like break that off into like a default contact for when you guys are opening, just for your own information.
Smart. Satellite team. Hey, please guide me to disable the asset screenshot thumbnails for a specific client. They want to disable it for only one customer.
Yeah, there's no way to do that today. It's all or nothing. I will say that the screenshot is purposely low resolution, so it's really only designed for you to know that they're sitting at the desktop and nobody's doing anything, or they're doing something. You really can't read text and things like that with that. But this is coming up more and more, so that may be something that we could get done in the community-driven development track. So if you wanted to throw that in the next open submissions, middle of October, I would definitely get that sized and see if that's something we can do.
Would you do? Put it in policies?
Yeah.
Second asset.
It basically would just, it just wouldn't grab the screenshot. It would just collapse that window, whichever.
Yeah.
And can I ask you, if you want to ask a follow-up question there, I'm kind of curious the reason why. Like, I understand fundamentally that like maybe you shouldn't see the screen, but at the same time, if you have the RMM on it, you effectively own the machine. Like you could grab a screenshot, you could do anything you wanted. So I'm kind of curious what it is you're trying to prevent specifically. You got anything else on the live stream stuff, Ian?
Yeah, looking. The ability, I think this is probably a community driven track thing. Jason says ability to let or invite a client, select a callback or schedule on the Syncro calendar and link it to the current active ticket.
Wait, they want
Okay,
to
so
conflict with us?
well, you can kind of do that already. I don't know that it doesn't link it to the ticket, but you have a shareable link to the calendar. Let's see here. I'm gonna log into the demo account real quick.
While you're doing that, I'm going to pull up another one. Is there an option to check the uptime of a machine? We track the last login, and we track the last time that the agent checked in. I don't think we necessarily try, you know what? Now I have to go look, sorry. So now we're both looking stuff up.
All right, so check this out. If you go to the admin section and then you go to website integrations and you scroll down, there's this appointment booking module embed code, and you can click to get a preview. So this opens it up in its own window here. You can share this link with people, and this lets them schedule an appointment. So you could send that to somebody in a ticket and they can pick a time. It won't link it to that ticket, but it's still an appointment that's booked. So, I mean, it's on there. And then once the appointment's booked, you could apply it to that ticket.
For what it's worth, I made like a little note to myself because I've been wanting to improve that and make it a little more Calendly like for a long time. And I think we're pretty close to doing that. So that'd be a cool ad.
For sure.
So whoever was asking about, sorry, it just says satellite team. I don't know what your name is. We do track uptime here. Basically, I gotta be honest, it's not the way I'd like to see it either. It says last boot time and it reads it like this. I'm assuming that you really wanted this just to say uptime and just subtract it from the current time. That would make a lot more sense. So I think that's another great suggestion for the community-driven development track. In fact, we could even consider like putting it up here if it's easy just to see the uptime or somewhere more prevalent. In fact, you know what? Email me, Andy@syncromsp.com, and let me know what you're thinking there, how we can improve that. Maybe I'll just sneak that one in on your behalf because I like that idea. And then Ian, Emily says, you guys are awesome. I love having you on the Syncro team. Before I say thank you, that's not another Monty Python thing, right? I want to feel dumb. But if it's not,
suspicious.
Very nice. Okay, great.
Got a question here. When we generate a command line interface for the Syncro installer, is the number in the CLI the Syncro customer ID number? Oh boy, that's very specific, and I don't remember the answer.
I'm going to see if I have anything online. If I don't, I can't answer it for you.
I guess I could go to the demo account and download.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, you could, if you want to test it really quick, when you're on a customer or on an asset, my guess is it's probably the asset ID. In the URL, basically the slug is going to be the ID of the record, and you can just try to match that. If it's not that,
yeah. So if the question is how do I find the customer ID? The customer ID, if you go to customers, you go to any particular customer, this is the customer ID. The same is true pretty much of like any page. So if I go to assets and I go here, this is the ID for this asset. So yeah, that's how you find the ID.
Okay. Well, now we're 10 minutes over. That's kind of funny how that went. I think I see one left over here. Do you have anything left on the live stream side, Ian?
I will check.
So Murray's asking something. Okay, I'm not sorry, Murray. I'm not following. You're saying if you go to the customer, you have to sift through all the contacts to find them, and they're set up as one customer at the moment. Murray, I'm not totally following you on that. There is a contact section on customer records. Let me bring up what I know I have the contact.
I think they're referring to the last question they asked where they have 3 branches and 3 different primary IT contacts.
Wait, what is that? Hold on, now I think I minimized what has happened here. There we go. This right here, this tab, this is going to be all your contacts in alphabetical order. So if that's not what you're looking for, let me know. But this is where they live, basically. They'll also show up if you search for them up here.
Okay, so Murray's saying for each of those branches, they have a separate customer object. And so they want to have a primary contact that it will show under the customer information and on the main customer contact page. So yeah, I mean, I would probably do what Andy recommended in regards to the direct report thing, because then that person will get CC'd on every ticket, regardless of who opens that. You could also do the custom field concept just so your team knows on the customer object, hey, this is the primary contact. That won't have anything to do with the tickets or anything, but it'll be easy for your team to see.
Satellite team's asking, is there any option to check the or delete computer? I don't know what you mean. Sorry, I feel like some of these ones, I'm not sure exactly what y'all are asking. If you're asking if there's an option to delete an endpoint, you could certainly do that. Do you interpret that a different way, Ian?
I don't know. Probably elaborate. Okay, Emily, you're going to be happy to hear this, but it makes me feel weird to say it to you. Have to say, based on the CEO sitting in on Ask Us Anything and knowing my Monty Python references and throwing in one of her own, the decision to switch to Syncro is proving very much a good choice. And you guys are also great. Yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
This is now the greatest Ask
We
Us
have fun.
Time.
Yeah, Emily says, so I closed the deal today.
She's after.
Yeah, you can take credit for that, Emily, if you want. You can talk to Scott about it.
Right at the end of the quarter, Emily, way to go.
Scott says deal was closed. That's funny.
Yes, we're gonna. Yeah, so Emily, all right, you heard it here first. We have team days every week. The entire company, 100 people, hops on a team day. We talk about company stuff. We have some fun, and apparently we're watching Monty Python at the next one. So if I don't answer during that hour, we're enjoying Monty Python. Leave me alone.
Satellite team wants to export one client machine in Excel format. Okay, you can do a couple things. You can go to the reports section, and there are things about an asset that you could export to CSV, such as asset activity report. I'm pretty sure you can export to CSV.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at. So you can pick it by customer in the asset audit report, and then you can dump it to CSV. And you can also filter it to a specific asset type if you wanted to, or just put in like a saved search, and it will obviously filter to everyone or filter to a specific customer.
Yeah, so that is one thing you could do. Also, our API is very easy to use. So if you feel comfortable with our API, or using an API, or even talking to ChatGPT about how to use an API, you can go do a get on the asset endpoint and get all the assets. It will give those to you in JSON format, but then again, using ChatGPT to write a Python script or something, or I'm sure there's converters somewhere, you could easily convert that JSON into Excel format. Maybe Excel even has built-in, I don't know. I've never tried to import JSON into Excel, but.
And I would never try and influence the suggestions coming into the community-driven development track. So I will make sure that this part gets cut from the recording we post. But if somebody wants to suggest this, I can tell them ahead of time, I like this one quite a bit. One of the weaknesses of our asset page today is that you can't actually export all your assets from here. What would be super cool is if you made a saved endpoint search or filtered this in some way, and then this became export all that is visible, not everything. I think that'd make it really easy to get what you want without having to dump a report or something like that or go through the API. So if that showed up, it would be one that we would probably like, just saying.
Douglas says is just wondering about the context of the Udemy link. Somebody was asking if there are tutorials or something on how to get up and running writing scripts in Syncro. And one of the things that I was saying is that if you want to learn PowerShell, which is, what you write scripts with in Syncro, that you can go buy like a $10, $20 Udemy course on PowerShell and easily get up and running with that.
Yeah, officially, like we have no partnership with them or anything, but I've used them for things too. It's all the courses are like hundreds of dollars for whatever reason. They're on sale for $10 like permanently. But there's, it's super cool. It's like 15 hours of content on some of these and it's broken out. So
yeah,
it's
pretty good.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit. So somebody else is saying, yeah, that export would be good. Well, you're anonymous, so I don't know who you are. So yeah, I expect you to add that to the next open submission so we can get that going.
Somebody's asking how to get the contact ID. It's the same thing.
Actually, that may not be. In a second.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. It's not the same thing.
Yeah. Let me see if there's a tricky way we can figure that out for you really quick.
There
is. So
yeah.
I don't know if people know this, but this is kind of sketchy, but there's dev tools in Chrome. Usually it's like F12, I think. And you can look at an element and it's actually going to show it there. So you're right. We don't put it in the URL, but you can easily find it. That will get dumped also if you do it through the API. But if you need a contact ID, that's a quick way to get it.
Yeah, let me just show you how easy that is with the API. You literally don't even have to write any code. So if you go, I'll paste the API docs
in fact,
chat.
While you're talking, I'll show it, unless you were going to share your screen.
No, I got it. Here we go. So basically what you do is you enter your subdomain and then your API key. And if you go down here, you can click try it out and click execute. So you want the get contacts, returns a paginated list of contacts. And you can even put the customer ID in here. So Andy, would maybe get some customer ID or whatever, you put it in here. You click execute, and then you're going to get back a list of all the different contacts, and you can see their ID right there. So
yeah, for what it's worth, we've had customers build some really wild stuff. Like I'm always amazed at what people are doing with the API. So a lot of people don't know it's as easy as it is, especially with that Swagger interface right from your UI. You just put in the API key and you're good to go.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna take a couple hours. Now we're like 20 minutes over time. It's like the longest one we ever did now. Anonymous users asking, Syncro assumes a lot of scripting capability, whereas Ninja and such have a lot of stuff built in. How do you address that? I'd address it like this. Ninja is kind of like, I don't know how much of this I should get into, but it's kind of like, we'll do it for you. And if we don't do it for you, you can't do it at all. And I personally don't like that philosophy. I would rather give you all the power in the world. And if you need someone to help you, whether it be us or whether it be somebody from our community into how to make that go, I would rather do that, because you're going to find so many instances where you need power of scripting that Ninja, as an example, doesn't have. I'll put our scripting up against anybody. It's one of our standout features between the variables, the way it interacts with the PSA, opening tickets, closing tickets, adding time to tickets, making custom alerts. No one has the power of scripting that we do. So when you say, can I, with Ninja, you have to look at a list and determine, can you? When Syncro, you don't have to look at anything. You can and you will. And sometimes you just may need help from somebody in terms of how to do that. But I would always rather give you the power than limit it and do it for you. That's just a design philosophy.
I mean, we also do have the community script library. So there are, as of this moment, 627 pre-built scripts in there, whether we built them or whether, other MSPs built them. So you do have access to that.
Yeah, Scott, this is a good analogy. Scott's saying this is the Mac versus Windows issue, and it's a good analogy. You're right. Where on Mac, you just do everything and it works. But the moment you want to do something a Mac doesn't do, PC users are like, I do this all the time. You just do this and you can't do it. In fact, anybody who's tried to install remote access on a Mac knows what I mean, where now you have to know about permissions and getting it manually. Even with an MDM, you can't deploy it sometimes. So yeah, that's a good analogy. And Ian, Doug wants to know, how do you guys keep your skin looking so youthful? I'd say when you work 80 hours a week and 12 hours a day, this is what your skin looks like. I'm actually only 25 years old, so this is what my hair looks like now too. I don't know about for you, Ian.
Night cream.
Okay. All right. I think we're going to call it. We're almost a half an hour over now. So listen, everybody, thank you guys for joining us. We'll announce the next one. Usually we're doing them every 3 or 4 weeks, and keep an eye out for the next community driven development track. It will should be around the middle of October.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, guys. See you.